Hello. Happy Monday, you guys. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Today, we are going to have Lauren Dorman with Don't Diet Dietitian come on and talk about the upcoming workshop we have going on. And we're just working on connecting her. Think. 1 second. Yay! Hi, Lauren.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. So, real quick, those of you tuning in who don't know me, I'm Courtney and I own Brilliance Advanced Beauty Education, and I'm also one of the educators. So, we provide continuing advanced education for beauty and wellness professionals. And we work with different states for continuing education CE or CU hours. We just love to bring you unique courses, and that's kind of what we're doing today. So we have an upcoming workshop with Lauren here, and it's going to be on January 23rd. But I want to introduce Lauren, and we're just going to talk a little bit about her and get to know her a little bit. You guys can ask questions if you have any while we're talking today, but we have some talked about questions that we'll be covering to hopefully kind of give you an idea about Lauren. So go ahead, Lauren, you can introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your career and your company.
Sure. So I've been a registered dietitian for 20 years, and 2 years ago I started Don't Diet Dietitian. And what I do is I provide virtual and in-person counseling for mostly women who are chronic dieters. But it really can be for anybody that just struggles with their relationship with food and body. So I would love to work with anybody who struggles with thoughts around food constantly. And we're going to get into what exactly what is a relationship with food that's positive, and what is a relationship with food that's not so positive? What does that look like? So what I do basically is focus on pursuing health, not diets. And we go through the framework of a self-care approach to food and body.
Oh, that's so great. So what can we expect in our upcoming live workshop? Can you kind of walk us through what that might look like a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I'm really happy that I contacted you. I just thought that, the continuing education and beauty industry would really benefit from having this workshop, as well as other people can attend. So it will be a 90-minute presentation. It'll probably be about 75 minutes long, and then about 15 minutes for questions as well. So I'm going to walk you through basically why the beauty industry would benefit from improving their relationship with food, body, and self. We'll go through a little bit about burnout to balance and how we can get there. I'm going to discuss the differences between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist. A lot of my clients actually tell me that more people need to understand this. You have to teach this to people, Lauren, because not enough people know that registered dietitian is really the go-to for accurate nutrition advice. And we're going to discuss some unintentional advice that the medical industry is advising. They might advise intermittent fasting, keto, low carb, Weight Watchers. A lot of this is harmful for many. So I want to go through some of that. And what the diet industry doesn't want you to know, with a lot of information on diet and wellness culture, 10 reasons why diets don't work, the side effects of dieting, and also side effects of just inadequate energy intake and not taking care of yourself throughout the day. 3 surprising nutrition mistakes that you're probably making most days, and one of them does have to do with your mindset and how we can rewire our brains to simplify nutrition. We're going to end with the 10 principles of intuitive eating and studies, and the 10 ways to practice self-care through nutrition. So what everybody could do right now that's listening is you can go to my link in my bio for the free self-care guide that we will review in detail towards the end of the workshop. And you can also send me a message if anything surprises you or what you're going to work on or focus on, I'd love to get messages in my inbox. So I also want to mention that I do want to provide like a free gift for anybody that does sign up for the workshop and attend the whole workshop. And that would be a free simplified meal planner that is just a real simple approach to understanding variety and balance with a lot of ideas for all meals and snacks.
Oh, I think that's would be so helpful. Lauren and I had discussed a little bit about how the beauty industry providers tend to intermittent fast. In fact, I feel like we made it a thing before it was a thing, and not necessarily intentionally. Like, how many of us don't even drink water or eat anything all day between clients? Half the time we hardly use the bathroom, and this, is so terrible for us. And we wonder why we are like zombies by the time we're done working. So I think having that simple guide will make things a lot easier, because a lot of times we overcomplicate things quite a bit. And I'm just really looking forward to this, because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation, and with your experience and everything, I just know this will help so many people. So while Brilliance Advanced Beauty Education educates beauty and wellness professionals, and clearly we have this, tied with some continuing education hours for some states, would everyone benefit? Like, if they're not even in the field, would anyone benefit, or is it specific to beauty and wellness professionals?
Okay, so good question, because probably about 10 minutes of the workshop will be discussing the beauty industry and burnout, and a little bit about, a day in the life of what it's like to be working in that industry. But the rest of the presentation, if, 75% of women, and most of us, do struggle with our relationship with food. So I believe that a lot of men and women would benefit from attending, that feel certain things, and they feel that their mind is like taking up too much, is making too much noise around food and body. So I'm going to talk about some of these things that some people might be thinking. Okay. So the first one is, I will be better on Monday, right? Second one would be, I am constantly feeling hungry, right? You're hangry, you're irritable. A very common one, and a lot of reasons why people are just frustrated and fed up and start working with me as a client, is, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get it together? Why don't I have the motivation? Why don't I have the willpower or the discipline? And it really doesn't have to do with that. And a lot of the things that I am going to be discussing in the workshop are things that you've never heard before. Very different. Have you ever had the thought of, I'm so bad for eating this? So you're giving food a moral value, and you're giving yourself a moral value. Are you thinking, oh, if I start with one bite of that, I'm never going to be able to stop eating that? So you're not having trust with yourself and that food, and you put that food on a high pedestal. And you have the thoughts of, oh, I need to try another diet, and you yo-yo a lot. And more about like the 50% brain space focused on food and body. That's not health. We don't want to be focusing on that all day long. And a lot of people suffer in silence with a lot of these thoughts that I'm talking about right now, because it's normalized, right?
Yeah,
And those sound that you've heard before.
definitely. I definitely punish myself like that, and for why.
And we're all wired to think this way, but you can retrain and rewire to feel better and focus on habits and behaviors and thoughts and feelings and emotions. And because weight and I don't measure anybody's health by how much they weigh or their body size. I'll never measure success by that, because all bodies deserve respect. We're all worthy. And I'm only focusing on what you can actually change, right? Weight is an outcome. It's not something that we can change. And a lot of people are putting Band-Aid and Band-Aid and Band-Aid every couple months, every couple of years. They're not getting to the root cause of what's going on. What's the underlying issue here? What's the unmet need? What's the feeling? So I'm going to talk about some of the side effects that if you're having these side effects, you would greatly benefit from coming to the workshop. So some of it is fatigue, anxiety, and irritability, which I think would be common if you said like someone in the beauty industry is just going to intermittent fast and not even drink their water, and you know they're going to definitely walk around with that. Increased cravings and binges, loss of hunger and fullness cues, some digestive issues. So if you're having digestive issues, you would definitely benefit from listening to the workshop. Low self-esteem or self-worth, feelings of food obsession and constant thoughts of the food like we talked about, or a feeling of a food addiction. And shame and guilt is a big one, right? So we're going to walk away from this presentation with a lot less shame and guilt and more compassion and self-care and kindness. You know, we're all wired to focus on a quick fix, and we have these blinders on, and we're not really focusing on the process and the journey, which I'm going to walk everybody through. We're focusing on an outcome, and that's not getting us to a place of being realistic or sustainable with our habits.
That's really good.
Thanks.
It's much needed for sure. I feel like with pretty much everyone, we all have created these bad habits that we learned, you know, whether it was in your household or your society, you know, whatever, community, but we all have definitely some things we need to work on. And, you know, by changing that, it changes your whole life, your career, family, your relationships, personally, professionally. So can you explain some nutrition myths that people may currently think is healthy?
Yeah, I actually have, I do this with my clients, so I'm going to just read them out loud. And then when we have the workshop, we're going to go through why they're myths and a little bit more detailed. So the first myth is that carbs are bad. Carbs are our energy source. We need carbs at every meal and every snack. You must be skinny to be healthy. Absolutely false. You can be any body size and you can be healthy. Actually, our health is dependent more on our social connections than it is about you know, our food and our body weight. Ignore hunger. Have you ever heard that? Like appetite suppressant, ignore hunger. That will backfire, right? Our bodies want to be regularly fed throughout the day. You should not eat late at night. Have you heard that before? We're going to talk about that one. Sugar-free products are healthy. They actually can cause a lot of GI distress and some nausea, and we're going to go into that.
And Lauren specialized for a long time in diabetes, so for her to make that statement is, you know, right? Didn't you specialize in diabetes a lot?
Yeah, and I'm very against sugar-free products unless you love the sugar-free product for the reason that you know, not because someone told you you should eat it, but because you really enjoy the flavor and the taste. And if that product doesn't cause any issues with intolerance, then that's fine. But otherwise, there's no need. You should skip meals if you're not hungry. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how often we should be eating our meals and snacks during the workshop. You need to follow an intense exercise regimen. False. All these are false, remember, if you're just hopping on now, these aren't true. You should avoid processed foods and certain food groups. False. All foods fit. There's no dietitian out there that would teach you that to exclude a food group unless you had an allergy or sensitivity. And fattening foods are bad. You know, I've had women that say, oh no, aren't avocados too much fat, and isn't salad dressing too much fat? And there's a lot of misconception around that. And fasting is healthy for your body. Of course, there's going to be a lot of information about intermittent fasting that is, you know, promoted as healthy, but you have to know how your body handles that. For the majority of people, that will backfire. It will slow metabolism. It will increase your hunger hormones and cravings. And you're not going to feel your physical best if you do that. You're not giving your body what it deserves and needs every day.
Wow. I can't wait to hear more about it and during the workshop. Can you explain, the workshop, and you guys, thank you so much for hopping on. And if you guys have questions while we're chatting, feel free, and we'll come to it when we have a moment. The workshop is actually called From Burnout to Balance. And so can you explain a little bit about burnout and how this is like tying in with everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a society, we are all pretty much burnout. We have to be able to manage our emotions and understand what our levels are of self-care to prevent feelings of anxiety, fatigue, reduced productivity, increased procrastination, like a quick anger, like a change in mood, and you're quick to anger. And kind of this emotional numbness. That's what a burnout would feel like. It's kind of going from like seeing the world in color to now seeing the world in black and white. And we stop being able to feel our emotions when this happens. And we're really not kind to ourselves as well. So it makes decision-making skills, and it usually leads to bad decisions. So remember before you said like something about like some people don't eat all day and then they just can't think clearly and things like that. Like someone can't even think about like, well, what do I even want to eat? I don't even know. Like the brain is just so foggy because it's not well nourished, and you're burned out from overworking. So depression and anxiety and poor sleep can occur, and you're definitely going to be more prone to illness as well. And all of this burnout has a significant correlation with someone's relationship with food, body, and self, which we'll definitely dive into in the workshop.
That's great. Thank you for mentioning that.
Thanks.
Before I get into the fun little random question, is there anything else you want to say about, your experience or the workshop that's coming up?
No, I just think many people would benefit to learn a different approach, a better approach to sustainable, health, to learn about how do I stop dieting and how do I just focus on my health? And how do I stop having all these thoughts about food and body? And how do I stop having, thinking of food in terms of good and bad and healthy and unhealthy, and just have an allowance for the food? And how do I get more self-awareness, tune in internally instead of externally? There's a lot of that we're going to learn. And nervous system regulation is very important in healing your relationship with food as well. Yeah, I think a lot of people that listen to this, that are, that are, it's very relatable to them, they should sign up. They're going to learn a lot of information that some of it they've never heard before, and it's going to make them think, and it may transform some aspects of their lives.
That's great. I can't wait to have it happening. So I'm really looking forward to it. We've had quite a few people already sign up and enroll to join us. So if you guys are on the fence and thinking about it, we'll talk about it in a minute a little bit more. But Lauren, what is a question I like to ask a lot of our guests is, what is a book or podcast or show, and it doesn't have to be like industry related, that you're enjoying, that you're consuming right now? It could be like, Beverly Housewives, or it could be whatever.
What was it? White Lotus. I just finished season 1.
I haven't started it at all.
Season 2. I heard that season 2 is a different cast, so it's different. That was very good. And podcasts, I jump around a lot of different ones, and a lot of different ones on diet culture and relationships with food and eating disorders. But I do really like Mel Robbins and Gabby Bernstein. Are you familiar with both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have great podcasts.
Yeah.
Book-wise, I just read Verity, which was really good, by Colleen Hoover. and I read Laziness Does Not Exist, which is really eye-opening. And I'm reading The Power of Now.
Oh, all right. So I read The Power of Now.
Have you read?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Verity actually just came up for the library for me. I've been waiting like 2 months, and I'm like, this is not a good time. Like, back next week. But the other one, what was it again?
Oh,
The
Laziness Does Not Exist.
Not exist.
My son saw me reading it, and he's like, yes, it does, Mom. And I'm like, that's okay. I mean, everybody thinks that laziness exists, but it dives into a lot of the hustle culture, and it does talk about diet culture, and it makes sense. It's a very good book.
I'm gonna have to check it out. Yeah, I think that all kind of ties into the burnout and like shame eating and shame working and all that. So
yeah, it's that pressure and the expectation that so many humans put on themselves, and we're not robots. That's also another important thing I like to tell a lot of people is we're human beings and we have emotions and feelings. We're not robots, and a lot of the culture, what they're teaching us, is for a robot to follow.
Yeah, it's hard to be. Yeah, we can't be perfect. We're not
machines. No, there's no perfect way of eating, and there's no perfect way of being. You are, great as you are.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lauren, do you want to share where people can find you and connect with you?
Sure. So this is my Instagram, Don't Diet Dietitian, and you're welcome to go to my link in the bio and click on the free self-care guide so that you'll get that in your inbox immediately, and you'll begin to see what are 10 ways that you can practice nutrition in a self-care framework.
Perfect. And then, of course, if you wanted to join us for her workshop, like I said, it's January 23rd. Don't quote me, but I think it's 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern, and so 4:30 Pacific.
I have 5 to 6:30 Eastern.
Oh,
that's what.
Okay. I'll have to double check it. Anyway, you guys can check it out on brillianceadvancedbeautyeducation.com, and you go to continuing education courses, and you'll see the From Burnout to Balance workshop. It's $29, and you guys are going to obviously get so much information that, so many helpful tips, and, you never know if you apply them, they could change your life.
It's probably a value of like $500. Like if you implement the strategies and the information, in a way that works for you, the value is really, really, really great. I hope that everyone gets something out of it.
Yeah, for sure. I can't imagine you wouldn't. So thank you so much, Lauren, for your day. And thank you for those who hopped on and watched live with us. And for any of you watching on the replay, feel free to connect with Lauren or I for any questions you guys have. You guys have a wonderful day.
Bye. Thank you.